Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. The reason why I'm here is because I just want to let you all know that there have been some changes on the answer. I just want to inform you that make sure to watch carefully. So with that being said, I wish you all the best for your exam. Let's get it started.
Who are the Aboriginal peoples in Canada? The first people to live in Canada. What are the three main groups of Aboriginal peoples? The First Nations, the Inuit, and the Métis. From whom are the Métis descended? Early French and English fur traders and First Nations women. The federal government placed Aboriginal children in residential schools to educate and assimilate them. How did the Aboriginal people feel about the schools? The Aboriginal people did not welcome the schools, as Aboriginal language and cultural practices were prohibited. Which group of Aboriginal peoples makes up more than half of the population in the Northwest Territories and Nunavut? The Inuit. Why are the Aboriginal peoples of Canada working towards self-government? To keep their unique cultures and languages alive and to regain control over decisions that affect their lives. Who have major responsibilities on First Nations Aboriginal peoples reserves? The major responsibilities on First Nations reserves are taken care of by band chiefs and councillors. Where did the first European settlers in Canada come from? France. Why did early explorers first come to Atlantic Canada? To fish and trade with Aboriginal peoples. What three industries helped early settlers build communities in the Atlantic region? Farming, fishing, and shipbuilding. Who were the United Empire Loyalists? Early settlers in the Atlantic region who left the United States during and after the American Revolution. When did settlers from France first establish communities on the St. Lawrence River? Early 1600s. Who are the Acadians? The descendants of French colonists who began settling in what are now the Maritime Provinces in 1604. Which trade spread across Canada, making it important to the economy for over 300 years? The fur trade spread. What form of transportation did Aboriginal peoples and fur traders use to create trading networks in North America? The Great Lakes as a waterway. What important trade did the Hudson's Bay Company control? The fur trade. Which countries fought in the War of 1812, and which country was defeated? The USA invaded Canada in the War of 1812 and was defeated. Who was the first leader of a responsible government in the Canadas in 1849? Sir Louis Hippolyte Lafontaine. Who was Sir Sam Steele? A great frontier hero, mounted policeman, and soldier of the Queen. Which act granted, for the first time in Canada, legislative assemblies elected by the people? The Constitution Act of 1791. What did the government do to make immigration to Western Canada much easier? Built a railway across the prairies to the Pacific coast. Who played an important part in building the Canadian Pacific Railway CPR? Chinese railroad workers. What was the head tax? A race-based entry fee charged for Chinese immigrants entering Canada. Who was General Sir Arthur Currie? Canada's greatest soldier in the First World War. Approximately how many Canadians served in the First World War? More than 600,000. What was the women's suffrage movement? An organized effort by women to achieve the right to vote. When is Remembrance Day celebrated? November 11th. What was the era of rapid change experienced by the province of Quebec in the 1960s, called the Quiet Revolution? Who are the Québécois? The people of Quebec. What does Confederation mean? The provinces. What is the Canadian Constitution? The system of laws and conventions by which our country governs itself. What year was Confederation? 1867. When did the British North America Act come into effect? 1867. Why is the British North America Act important in Canadian history? The British North America Act established the self-governing Dominion of Canada by joining the four provinces of Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick and Nova Scotia legal in Confederation. Which four provinces first formed the Confederation? Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Which was the last province to join Canada? Newfoundland and Labrador. When is Canada Day and what does it celebrate? July 1st, and celebrates the anniversary of Confederation. Who was the first Prime Minister of Canada? Sir John A. Macdonald. Why is the Constitution Act of 1982 important to Canadian history? Because it allows us to change our constitution without asking the British government for approval. What part of the Constitution legally protects the basic rights and freedoms of all Canadians? The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. When did the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms become part of the Canadian Constitution? 1982. Name two fundamental freedoms protected by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The freedom of religion and the freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression. Name three legal rights protected by the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The right to life, liberty and the security of the person, the right to a fair trial, and the right to protection against discrimination. List three ways in which you can protect the environment. Throwing waste paper or other garbage in designated public garbage containers. Recycling and reusing as many products as possible, such as paper, glass, and cans. Walking, joining a carpool or using a bicycle or public transit whenever possible. Getting involved with a local group to protect our natural and cultural heritage. Who has the right to apply for a Canadian passport? Canadian citizens. What does equality under the law mean? Canadian citizens have the right to protection against discrimination, in particular discrimination based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age or mental or physical disability. Name 6 responsibilities of citizenship. Obeying Canada's laws. Voting in elections. Expressing opinions freely while respecting the rights and freedoms of others. Working to help others in the community. Eliminating discrimination and injustice. And caring for and protecting Canada's heritage. Give an example of how you can show responsibility by participating in your community. By participating in your community through membership in a community group such as an environmental group. By helping your neighbors. By working with others to solve problems in your community. By volunteering to work on an election campaign for a candidate of your choice or becoming a candidate in an election. List 4 rights Canadian citizens have. The right to enter and leave Canada freely. Mobility rights, such as the right to live and work anywhere in Canada. The right to apply for a Canadian passport. The right to be educated in either official language. The right to vote in federal and provincial territorial elections. And the right to be a candidate in federal, provincial and territorial elections. What will you promise when you take the oath of citizenship? I swear or affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, Queen of Canada, her heirs and successors, and that I will faithfully observe the laws of Canada and fulfill my duties as a Canadian citizen. What are the 2 official languages of Canada? English and French. Give an example of where English and French have equal status in Canada. In the Parliament of Canada, in federal courts and in all federal institutions. Where do most French-speaking Canadians live? The province of Quebec. Which province has the most bilingual Canadians? Quebec. Which province is the only officially bilingual province? New Brunswick. What does the Canadian flag look like? White with a red border on each end and a red maple leaf in the center. What song is Canada's national anthem? O Canada. Write the first line of Canada's national anthem. O Canada, our home and native land. Where does the name Canada come from? Canada. Which animal is an official symbol of Canada? The beaver. What is the tower in the center of the Parliament buildings called? The Peace Tower. What is the name of the highest honor available to Canadians awarded for bravery? The Victoria Cross. All countries have ways to recognize outstanding citizens. Canada used British honors for many years, but in 1967 started its own honors system. What is it called? Order of Canada. What is the largest religious affiliation in Canada? Roman Catholic. What is Canada's national winter sport? Hockey. What three oceans border Canada? Pacific Ocean on the west, the Atlantic Ocean on the east, and the Arctic Ocean to the north. What is the capital city of Canada? Ottawa, Ontario. Name all the provinces and territories and their capital cities. Alberta, Edmonton. British Columbia, Victoria. Manitoba, Winnipeg. New Brunswick, Fredericton, Newfoundland. Labrador, St. John's Northwest Territories, Yellowknife. Nova Scotia, Halifax. Nunavut, Iqaluit. Ontario, Toronto. Prince Edward Island, Charlottetown, Quebec, Quebec City. Saskatchewan, Regina. Yukon, Whitehorse. Name the 5 regions of Canada. Atlantic Region, Central Canada, the Prairie Provinces, the West Coast, and the North. Which region covers more than 1/3 of Canada? Canada's Northern Region. In which region do more than half the people in Canada live? Southern parts of Quebec and Ontario. 1/3 of all Canadians live in which province? Ontario. Where are the Canadian Rockies? Bordered between Alberta and British Columbia. Where are the Great Lakes? Ontario, along the border between Canada and the United States of America. Which mountain range is on the border between Alberta and British Columbia? The Canadian Rockies. Where are the Parliament buildings located? Ottawa, Ontario. Which country borders Canada on the south? The United States of America, USA. What are the Prairie Provinces? Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Which province in Canada is the smallest in land size? Prince Edward Island. What is a major river in Quebec? The St. Lawrence River. On what date did Nunavut become a territory? April 1st, 1999. What are the 3 main types of industries in Canada? Natural resource, manufacturing and service. In what industry do most Canadians work? Service industry. What country is Canada's largest trading partner? The United States of America, USA. Which region is known as the industrial and manufacturing heartland of Canada? Central Canada. Which region of Canada is known for both its fertile agricultural land and valuable energy resources? The Prairie Provinces. Who is Canada's head of state? Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Who is the Queen's representative in Canada? Governor-General of Canada. What is the name of the Governor-General? For this question, please see Appendix. What do you call the Queen's representative in the provinces? The Lieutenant Governor. What is Canada's system of government called? Parliamentary government. What are three features of Canada's system of government? Canada is a federal state, a parliamentary democracy, and a constitutional monarchy. What are the three parts of Parliament? The Queen, the House of Commons, and the Senate. Explain how the levels of government are different. The federal government takes major responsibility for things that affect all of Canada, such as national defense, foreign policy, and citizenship. Provincial and territorial governments look after things such as education, healthcare, and highways. They share responsibilities with the federal government in some areas. Municipal or local governments take responsibility for areas that affect the local community, such as policing, firefighting, snow removal, and recycling programs. What do you call a law before it is passed? A bill. How are members of Parliament chosen? The people in each electoral district vote for a candidate of their choice. The candidate who receives the most votes becomes MP for that electoral district. Who do members of Parliament represent? An elected MP represents everyone who lives in his or her electoral district, even the people who did not vote for the MP. How does a bill become a law? A bill must be approved by majorities in both the House of Commons and the Senate. What are the three levels of government in Canada called? Federal, provincial, territorial, and municipal local. Name two responsibilities of each level of government. Federal, national defense, foreign policy, citizenship. Provincial, territorial, education, health care, highways. Municipal, local, policing, firefighting, snow removal, recycling. What is the government of all of Canada called? The federal government. In which electoral district do you live? For this question, please see Appendix. Who has the right to vote in federal elections? You can vote in a federal election if you are a Canadian citizen, at least 18 years old, and on the list of electors. What three requirements must you meet in order to vote in a federal election? You must be a Canadian citizen, be at least 18 years old on voting day, and be on the voters list? What is written on a federal election ballot? The names of the candidates in your electoral district in alphabetical order. What do you mark on a federal election ballot? An X. How is a government formed after an election? The party with the most elected representatives becomes the party in power. How is the Prime Minister chosen? The Prime Minister is the leader of the political party with the most elected members of Parliament. When does an election have to be held according to federal legislation? The third Monday of October in the fourth calendar year. Name all the federal political parties represented in the House of Commons and their leaders. For this question, please see Appendix. Which party becomes the official opposition? The party with the second most members of Parliament. What is the role of the opposition parties? To oppose or try to improve government proposals. Which party is the official opposition at the federal level? For this question, please see Appendix. Name the Prime Minister of Canada and his party. Justin Trudeau, Liberal Party. Name your member of Parliament and the party he or she belongs to. For this question, please see Appendix. What is a voter information card? Card that confirms your name is on the voters list and tells you when and where to vote. Who has the right to run as a candidate in federal elections? Any Canadian citizen who is at least 18 years old can run in a federal election. Who do Canadians vote for in a federal election? Vote for the people they want to represent them in Parliament. Each Canadian votes for a member of Parliament for his or her electoral district. What do political parties do? Political parties are groups of people who share ideas about how the government should work. Which federal political party is in power? For this question, please see Appendix. How are senators chosen? By the Prime Minister and appointed by the Governor General. What should you do if you do not receive a voter information card telling you when and where to vote? Call your local elections office to make sure you are on the voters list. After a federal election, which party forms the new government? The party with the most elected representatives.